Welcome to Week 5, Module 3, our discussion about expanding and communicating your leadership and your leadership platform. In preparation for this week, we've completed blogs 4 and 5, and we verbally practiced on-the-spot articulations of all of our previous blog posts about our leadership platform. I encourage you to continue to do that. The purpose of this week is to learn and demonstrate the pyramid template for answering questions and addressing topics, a way of organizing your thoughts and articulating them in a cohesive, comprehensive manner. And to summarize and communicate your platform positions regarding curriculum, parent involvement, educational uses of technology, discipline, and culture. And as a function of that or an outgrowth of that, to begin platform subsection drafts 1 through 4, which are all due March 5th, but don't wait till March 3rd to do this. We're giving you several weeks to do this because it is a task that should take several weeks. So remember, it's quadrant 2 or quadrant 1. Either do it at the last minute, feel rushed and pressured, or start to organize your thoughts now and start working on each of these sections so you can work on them in a more focused and deliberate rather than stressed way. So we come to a very, very exciting part of your leadership platform in its written form. You have now completed your entire introductory section. It's a section that should prepare you for a wide range of opening conversations and questions about who you are, what you believe, and the type of person and leader that you aspire to be. As a part of that, you've shared your educational beliefs, what you believe about children. You've shared your personal story, where those beliefs come from in terms of some aspect of your personal history. You've shared your professional experience. You've shared your leadership style. And you've shared your non-negotiables. And that introductory package of your platform provides several key insights into who you are as a person, as an educator, and as a leader. As a person, your educational beliefs start to give people glimpses of your core values. Why did you become an educator? What do you think the purpose of education is? What the sort of experience you want kids to have in the schools that you participate in teaching and leading in. Your story tells why those beliefs are more than words. Where do they come from in your background? Where were those formulated in terms of the personal experiences that you've had? They've established the authenticity of your beliefs. Your professional experience provides your audience, the people talking with you, interviewing you, listening to you, an opportunity to know your credibility as a working educator, that you've had a chance over the years to formulate your beliefs and put them into practice in various roles as an educator, as a business leader, as a leader. Your leadership style, now that you've added to your platform, gives people a glimpse into what your decision-making process is, and most specifically, what your vision of an interpersonal victory is. Go back to the 6 habits. Win-win, collaboration, these are all aspects of how you see moving from independence to interdependence, working with other people, and your leadership style is a vision of what it looks like when you're collaborating and working with other people. What is the decision-making process that you want to evoke, that you want to expect of yourself as you build and work with others, as your sphere of influence grows. And finally, your non-negotiables, your integrity. What are you willing to say is my line in the sand? I won't go past here. I won't tolerate and accept this. I'll leave or you'll leave. In organizing your platform now, that introduction has those 5 pieces. It has your educational beliefs, it has your personal story, it has your professional experience, it has your leadership style, and it has your non-negotiables. The next part of your platform, the last part of your platform that we're going to be working on in this class, is the subsections that starts answering more specific questions about specific areas of educational practice, or educational issues. The list of what you could include in your platform is endless, based on the type of job you're looking for, based on your personal specialization in areas of interest and passion. But you can probably predict in just about any educational context, there's certain aspects of your leadership belief and practice that you are going to have to articulate. If you've ever participated in an interview with an educational leader, you know that, or even when you interviewed for your current job, there's a range of questions that typically get asked, and those are the ones we've chosen to highlight in the subsections you'll prepare for this part of the platform. For example, or more specifically, you're going to be writing a subsection in your leadership platform on curriculum and instruction. You're going to be writing a section of your platform on parent and community involvement. You're going to be writing a section of your platform, subsection of your platform, on discipline and school climate and culture. And finally, especially because we're an online program looking at instructional technology and instructional leadership in technology, you're going to be writing a subsection on technology. But like I said, the end is the opportunity to expand on these, to add other subsections based on interest or the type of job you have or applying for is endless. You could write a section on assessment and accountability, on professional development and evaluation, on budget and setting priorities, on leadership experiences, on special education. The list goes on and on. Usually you're going to be asked about 8 questions in an interview, and these are the type of questions that the format's going to change, but people are going to want to know what you think about curriculum. How are you going to involve parents more effectively? How do you build school culture? How do you use instructional technologies to make your school a more effective learning environment? So those are the areas that we're going to ask you to be starting to draft when you're done with this video and completing for March 5th to complete your first overall draft of your leadership platform. So in order to do this, I'm going to share with you the way I recommend you conceptualize, or one way that I recommend you conceptualize how to answer a question that you're asked about that's specific to something like curriculum and instruction or your beliefs on something and exemplifying your practice. I call this the Pumpian Pyramid, and it allows me and people who have chosen to adopt it a way to not get lost in a question. All of us have been in situations, whether it's an interview or conversations with friends or even in a class presentation, where we get asked a question and we find ourselves rambling our way through and not even answering or addressing the question. When you're asked a question, people really want to know your opinion on the question. You want to have a succinct answer. Sometimes you haven't had a chance to prepare for the question. So just like we teach students, there are templates for writing sentences. There are templates for thinking about how to conceptualize and answer a question. I call this the belief, story, components, experience, example pyramid. And I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to exemplify it. I'm going to show it to you conceptually as well as in 2D. The first thing I like to start with is, no matter what question I get asked, I like to have a very quick response to what I believe about that. I might be asked a situation, I might be asked a very specific example, I might be asked something very general, but rather than jumping right to the answer to the question, I think it's important to formulate my own response and to create a foundation for the response I'm going to give somebody else so there's no misunderstanding. My basic quick belief. Now, this is not the 150 words you put in your platform about what you believe in education. It's a short and concise statement about beliefs specific to the question or issue asked. Then I'm going to give a very quick response to why I believe that. Again, this is not the platform introduction where I'm going to give a long story about my personal experience related to this belief, but where does this belief come from? And then I'm going to talk about the issue. I'm going to address all the aspects of the issue I could talk about, but I'm not going to have time to talk about given the limited scope of the question or the time we have together. But then I'm going to want to talk about one of those components. Now, if I've been asked an open-ended question, I can choose the component I want to discuss. I can bring up any of those components to say, let me talk about this one. But if I'm asked a specific question, I'm given a problem, I'm going to have to, that highlight is going to be one of the components that I've been asked to address rather than the one of my choosing, and then I'm going to explain that highlight. If we look at this in 2D, basically the subject is a question I'm asked, an issue I want to address, a problem I want to face. to establish my authenticity, I'm going to give a very, very specific experience, professional, personal, that connects to that belief. I'm going to let the audience know I know a lot more about this subject. I have a lot more opinions about this subject. I have a lot more experience about this subject than I'm going to have time to address in the 7 minutes I have to answer this question, or in the 20 minutes I have to make this presentation. I might not be able to address 5 or 6 or 7 areas. I might only be able to exemplify 1 or 2. So I'm going to tell which one I'm going to exemplify. Once again, if I've been asked a personal question that I'd like to talk about is you've asked me to talk about, and I'd say it and then I'd explain my example. So let's talk about this as it relates to my platform statement on parent involvement. As I think about the triangle, if I'm asked a general question or specific question about increasing parent involvement, I would probably begin like this. In fact, my platform reads like this. I believe that parents are their child's first and lifelong teachers. When schools form a positive partnership with families, kids win and schools win. I believe this because as a child growing up, failure was not an option for me. My parents and teachers created an identity in me that never had me question that I was capable of great things, and they were there to support my greatness. That defines my charge as an educator and as an educational partner with parents. There's lots of issues we could talk about in terms of increasing involvement in schools. For example, parents can be served on governance and SSC. We could talk about their support in classroom, in the office, with a wide variety of instructional and clerical tasks. Other parents might want to be very involved in organizing special events. They can assist with supplies and resources. Parents can be very good at getting other parents involved in the school community, and parents can participate in a wide range of educational activities. And most importantly, parents can work with teachers to help their children be successful. I'd like to talk about one of those aspects, getting other parents and community members involved in the school. Several years ago, I was working at, anonymous name, Sunshine Elementary. We had a large population of Southeastern Asian families in attendance. Many of the kids' grandparents wanted to be involved, but had very little formal education or English. But they did have their culture to share. We started working with them on creating a school garden, knowing that this was a way to recognize their expertise and involve them as a valued member in our school community. With their help and a small grant we applied for, our garden grew. It's programs like these that help narrow the school community gap and let families know that our school is their school. I think that there are a number of initiatives like this that are endless. They're unique to each community and will help introduce families to other roles they can play in making their school a welcoming place. Now, what did we do? What did I do in this subsection of my leadership platform on school and community involvement? First of all, I used the pyramid. I discussed my beliefs and my connection to those beliefs. I gave a wide range of opinions about what I could talk about. So if I didn't cover an area, nobody could go back and say, he only talked about a family garden. I let people know my breadth of knowledge regarding ways involving families and the roles that parents can play are very broad, and I was just selecting one. Once again, I might have been asked how to get families more involved in governance. I would give the same beginning of the response, but my example would now be about my experience and an example of increasing parents' roles in governance. What I'm doing here in each of these subsections is connecting belief to my credibility of my examples I've had and bringing that belief into practice. I'm in fact providing in my platform in this way a vision to you of what my leadership in a school might look like. So it's vision and examples of what that looks like, what I've been involved in or experienced or value, and those things together now establish, hopefully in you, some assumption that I have a credibility in practice and in philosophy of getting parents more involved as members of the school community. That is what we're going to ask you to do, right? Subsections like that for curriculum and instruction, for parent and community involvement, for school and discipline and culture, and for technology. So looking forward to next week, start with the end in mind. Put first things first. Draft the subsections. Use the pyramid. Go through the triangle. Try to figure out what you believe about this particular issue. What do you believe, if you take curriculum instruction, what do you believe about smarter balance? Or what do you believe about instructional improvement or linked learning? It doesn't matter what area you choose, but what's your general belief about curriculum instruction? What are all the things you could talk about? Which things you want to exemplify? And then show your credibility through the experiences you've had of actually being involved in an initiative relative to that aspect of curriculum instruction. This should be relatively simple or straightforward when you start thinking about your subsection on school culture and discipline, because you probably can draw a lot from your from your pillar reflections, especially the one on do no harm, because it speaks directly to school discipline and how you look at school discipline and the things you'd like to put into practice. So you can probably borrow significant aspects from do no harm or other parts of your pillars reflections to build your statement about school discipline or culture. There is no right way. You cut it the way you want to cut it in terms of whether you want your subsection to be about culture or discipline or relationship between the two of those, what aspect of instructional technology you want to look at. But again, start broad with the belief, talk about the range of things you could talk about, and then show your experience very specifically. So start with the end in mind. Put first things first and get to work on your subsections. We can't wait to see how your leadership platform develops into describing the type of educational leader you're going to be based on the educational experiences and beliefs you have put in place today. And in that way, you'll increase your sphere of influence. Have a wonderful week.